Now, one of the big things that was easily noticeable when these Turbo S's came out were the unbelievably upgraded trail arms, the front A arms, the suspension, things of that nature. But I think that they made a pretty big mistake with these new trail arms because when you look at them up front, for some reason, they did not design these really well. There is an open pocket right here. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but this down here is a tube, and then this is all open, which means things like to accumulate down there. If you see that little white speck over there, that's a rock, and they're very hard to get out of there. The second issue with these is I want to believe they're powder coated, but I'm not sure. And the reason why I say that is because looking right here, you can see all of the damage from the rocks and from the sand and all the things of that nature. So I have real big problems with these trail arms. Now there are tubes that are in both the bottom and the top under this lip, but this is also open as well. Here's the big problem with this, okay? It's going to be corrosion control. If you're having a hard time cleaning things out of here, like rocks, and they sit in there and they continuously rub against things while you're riding, and every single little rock that comes up and kicks against this and knocks this paint off, it's going to end up in you having a hard time managing the corrosion on these things. We should not be having these big issues. Now, yes, obviously this is an off-road machine, but in my personal perspective, this is a big fail. These things should be double or even triple powder coated to ensure their durability and longevity. And in addition to that, this should not be a thing. There should not be any areas where mud, rocks, sand can accumulate within this system and continuously beat up on it. So these trail arms, big fail. I'm not a fan of them at all. Going to probably be the #1 thing that I upgrade when it comes to the travel arms, the suspension, and things of that nature. These things gotta go. The second thing that I'm really disappointed about is these doors. So the front doors are terrific, and I even really like the stock Polaris door inserts, the lower door inserts that they put on these things. And the front ones are pretty good only because they have this stopper right here, right? This right here and this front door allows this part to stop, which makes this a pretty solid door. So when you close it, it sounds good, it feels good, it's solid, it doesn't move, there's no play, so that's all great. The problem is these back doors. These back doors do not have that situation. They do not have a stopper, so they do move. They're not nearly as watertight as these are, even though these are definitely not watertight. They're much more effective at keeping out the grime and mud and slush and stuff of that nature. But these need work. I did buy some hardware for an idea that I have that I'm gonna be installing on this screw right here to see if I can improve the way that this door functions. So that also is just, it's not good. My other door, the driver side door, I think is worse on the driver rear side. So let me just go over here and check that one out. But you can see just how easily this thing it's like flapping in the wind. I mean, that's just heartbreaking. Not good, not good. So this is the second thing that I think they could have just put a little bit more time into to address that. Just come on, man. That's a huge fail right there, dude. So yeah, we'll be addressing that in the future too. I'll have to invest my own money into making sure that that's a more solid fit. This is a 74-inch wide machine. It's a beast. Everybody knows that. The issue that I have with this is these tires basically these wheels basically have no offset. Most of the wheels out there that you're going to be buying are going to have some type of an offset. So a 74-inch machine can easily turn into a 78 or even an 80-inch machine just by installing a new wheel package. I think that that's a huge issue. They probably could have done something with maybe pulling this in a little bit, pulling in your A-arms to make them a little bit shorter, and then putting an offset wheel on this. I mean, this is a $28,000 machine. I don't see any reason why Polaris couldn't have done that. And another reason why that's an issue for me is because clearly we are going to be upgrading these wheels. I have a Raptec rack on the back of my truck, and this thing accepts only up to about 78, 80 inches wide. So now I'm going to be, even though I'm pretty strapped for width space on this already, I am definitely going to be strapped for more width space once I get the upgraded wheels on. So it's kind of a bummer, but I knew what I was buying when I was buying it at the time. And even though I think it could have been done differently, it's acceptable. If you look at the earlier models of these machines, you'll see that a lot of these have different panels that are painted as opposed to the 2021 version. So a good case in point are these side pieces here. There's a plastic piece that comes that's right here. In a lot of the earlier models, they're actually painted like the front panel is. So I just took these things off because I didn't like the way that they looked. And here they are plastic. They are not painted, but some of the other models are painted. So there really is no consistency there. I think they cut that out to save money, but I'm not exactly sure how much basically a Fortune 500 company is gonna save on not painting two little panels for one of their top of the line units. But you know, I just think that's kind of cheap, and I don't know why they did it, and I'm not happy about it. So yeah. All right, man. So for my largest gripe, I know I'm complaining a lot and it's super first world problems, but these cages that they're putting on these RZRs never made sense to me. I never understood why they look so shitty and so high. It appears that they're making these cages this high and crappy looking because there are tall riders. And I totally get it. And I have nothing against folks who are tall. But the average guy is only like 5 foot 10 inches in the United States. So, I mean, why are we making a cage that you can easily sit a 7 foot dude in? Like, it makes no sense. Not only that, but I mean, the leg room doesn't even compensate for that. So why are these cages built so high, I think, is the question. No one's ever really been able to answer that for me, but they look like garbage. A lot of dudes will tell you that the first thing that they change out on their RZR is going to be the cage, and I totally get that. But hear me out on this, okay? If you're not from the Southeast, you're going to be paying about $2,000 for a new cage. That's a lot of money, like a lot of money. And in a lot of places, it's more. So if you do live in the Southeast, the Southwest, I meant to say. If you do live in the Southwest, the cages are much more affordable because they're all typically made in that area in Arizona, Southern California, New Mexico, things of that nature. But you'd buy a brand new unit and like the first thing you have to do is put on a $2,000 cage. Makes no sense. And then the roof on this thing is pretty spectacular. Now, I actually really love the roof on this thing. The roof is super thick. It's steel, and it's very durable, and I'm definitely gonna keep it. But I mean, if you were to buy this roof right now, OEM stock from Polaris, it's probably gonna be like $600 to $800. I put my money on it. I haven't looked up how much they cost or even if they sell them anymore. But so what I'm gonna have to do with this, because I don't feel like it's ethical, I just don't feel like I have to spend $2,000 to make this cage better. I'm gonna chop the cage. Now it's a big debate, right? A lot of people are against chopping the cage. Clearly, we all know that these things are not built to last. You know, end up on your roof one time and this cage is done. You're gonna have to replace it anyways because it's gonna collapse. But I think it's going to be worth chopping the cage. It'll only cost me $180 in material to do so. So that's what we're going to do at first. I do plan on upgrading the cage in time. So once I get a few $1,000s put away that I can buy a new cage for it. It'll increase the durability. It'll increase the safety aspect of riding. We're gonna do that, but for right now, I'm just stuck with this ugly looking, really stupid cage until I can chop it down. But yeah, so here's, I think, the philosophy behind these high cages for Polaris. Let's build a machine for the tallest American in the United States and then just basically totally disregard our customer point. So, and totally disregard the height of basically every average American out there who's going to be buying and driving these machines, especially women. I mean, come on, dude. Like, you do not need a cage that high for female drivers. It's just not a thing. One of my biggest gripes, and I probably said that like 6 times already in this video, but is this clutch. Ever since I've purchased this machine, I bought it with 0.4 miles on it. This clutch has been an issue for me. It's about 50% of the time when I actually throw it in gear that it catches, which means that I'm grinding my gear pretty often. So I bought an upgraded spring for this. I haven't installed it yet. So when I do that, I might make another video. I don't know. But I just have an issue with the way this thing is clutched. Now, mind you, again, $28,000 machine, right? And now we have clutch issues. I didn't know that it had that bad of clutch issues after we got it home, and I kind of felt it out for myself. I did a little bit digging on some Facebook groups and realized that a lot more dudes were complaining about this. So it is an issue. Like I said, let me see what spring that I got here. I did find out through some posts out there that this small little $28 spring upgrade is legit and it will fix this issue. So we have part number 7045524. And like I said, this is a secondary spring. Once I get better, I actually just had a medical procedure, but once I feel better and I'm able to go down into that clutch compartment area, pull the cover off and inspect it and replace that spring, I'm really hoping that it'll improve the way that this thing gets into gear, stays into gear. I don't have any slipping out of gear, but it's very funky. It's nowhere near as smooth as I was hoping it would be. I used to have a stage 3 Bikeman Performance clutch kit on one of my 900s, and that thing was just smooth as ice, baby. It was awesome. But that clutch kit was 10 times better than this one. So I'm hoping that spring helps. And if it doesn't, I'm going to be really upset. Finally, the last thing that I just hate about this Turbo S is this lack of attention to detail in the front battery terminal compartment area. This is the same exact terminal you're going to get on, like I said before, a Trail 900. Now, what sense does that make at all? It makes 0 sense. In fact, to me, it's just laziness on Polaris's part for not making sure that the customer had a much better platform here for accessories. Everybody knows that the first thing a guy is gonna do when they buy their unit, or even before they buy their unit, they're gonna have a freaking laundry list of accessory upgrades. And that includes lighting. Like I said before, totally unacceptable, which is why I had to basically make my own terminal board circuits from boards I already had that I purchased long ago, which is why I basically made my own terminals that are actually bolted in here. You can't see them because they're underneath this panel, but I already own them, so it was free to me. I also have a ton of wire, so none of that stuff cost me any money. But I mean, this is just pathetic, actually. All right, guys, man, I'll tell you what. Overall, I love this machine. It is totally beautiful, even though there are some things I don't like on it. I think that's going to be the case for almost everything you buy out there. My truck, my Ram 3500 driving steering wheel doesn't telescope, and I hate that about this truck. But I still love the dang thing because it's a badass. However, I do think that Polaris skimped on a lot of things. I think that they dropped the ball on definitely the trail arms on the back. I think that's a huge bust, and the clutch. I mean, those two things you definitely cannot live without. If one of those goes out, breaks, whatever the case may be, this thing's dead in the water. Totally unacceptable. Thanks a lot for tuning in. If you have any questions, gripes, concerns of your own, go ahead and put them in the comments, and I'll definitely read them and get back to you. I appreciate y'all tuning in. I guess we'll check you next time.